So for today's episode, I'm going to be returning to my roots. I'm going to be teaching you a short, simple practice, which includes elements of somatic education work, a little bit of yin yoga, and some breath work. I love this wall practice because it's accessible to anybody. If you can get onto the floor, or you can put your feet on the wall while you're in your bed, you can do this practice. You might like something to rest under the back of your head, but that's the only prop you need, that and a wall. This practice is designed to address that pain, which we often refer to as sciatic pain. Now, sciatic nerve pain is so broad. There are so many things which can feel like pain in the back of your leg, down your leg. If you have numbness or drop foot, that is an issue that requires much, much more than a somatic practice. You need to go see the doctor. But if you just have that pain down the back of your leg or an achy hip or hamstring that never seem to recover and maybe get worse with stretching, then this practice is exactly what you need. If you've got tight, achy hips, ankles, knees, I want you to do this practice. Now, if you've been a listener to the Yin Yoga podcast for some time, you already know that the instructions are really simple and easy to follow from this audio. However, something I'm offering in the Somatic Strength Collective is a video version of this podcast. So if you're not yet subscribed to me on YouTube, you can find that link for Movement for Healing right in the show notes, and you can follow right now, and you can even find this practice in its video form if you're more of a visual learner. Let's get started. Welcome to the Somatic Strength Collective. I'm your host, Mandy Ryle, certified strength and conditioning specialist, pain care coach, and nervous system educator. This is a dedicated, compassionate space for midlife women who can hold up the sky, but feel like their bodies are falling apart. Together, we bridge clinical pain neuroscience, somatic movement education, and bone building strength. Chronic pain is not your destiny. Let's build a robust, reliable body and replace pain with peace. Let's begin. Okay, so as I mentioned before, all you really need is a wall and something that's not too thick to go under the back of your head. We're not going to go right to legs up the wall. Instead, you're simply going to have your feet on the wall. So I'd like for you to distance yourself maybe 1.5 feet away from the wall, and then lay on your back with the soles of your feet on the wall. The soles of your feet on the wall, which means, of course, that your knees are going to be bent. And how close to the wall do you need to be? I would like for your thighs to be mostly vertical thighs, and your feet resting against the wall comfortably. Your thighs aren't drawn into your chest. Your thighs are mostly vertical. And then once you've got that established, check that your head is resting on something comfortable. That could be the floor, or it could be something that's softer than the floor, but still quite thin, because I need the curve in the back of your neck to be well represented here, very neutral. And once you're established, tune into your body, take a nice breath, and feel how that breath expands the chest, the ribs, maybe the belly, and how gravity assists you on the exhale. It literally helps you to collapse. So on the inhale, you're going to feel your chest, your ribs, your belly expand. And on the exhale, you'll feel them fall and release. Now, the next time you take one of those expanding inhales, Exaggerate it. Exaggerate it. Lift up the ribs. Arch the spine ever so gently away from the floor. And then on the exhale, as the ribs, the chest, the belly collapse, press your back toward the floor. So on the inhale, everything expands like a balloon. It's drawing those ribs up into a light arch of your spine. And then on the exhale, we collapse and we slightly exaggerate, pressing the spine down. Do one more time like that. Now this time, the movement stays the same, but you're going to notice how your pelvis is moving on the floor. Notice how you anterior tilt your pelvis slightly as you inhale. And as you press down, there's a mild posterior tilt. Inhaling, anterior tilt. Exhaling, you could even lightly press into the wall with your feet to find that mildly exaggerated posterior tilt. Inhale, expand, anterior tilt. Exhale, collapse, maybe pressing the feet into the wall. Look, don't overdo it, okay? So if this is an early experience of somatic work with you, I would like for you to note that it is not about finding a stretch. It's about repetition. So in the last couple of episodes of this relaunched podcast, I mentioned that somatics is all about the nervous systems, not necessarily about the tissues, although they come along, of course. So that means we don't need to worry about feeling a stretch. We just need to feel without agenda. Okay, so the next time you're in that light posterior tilt, I'll have you stay just for a beat and then release and allow the spine to find a neutral position. So not overly arched, but probably your low back is a slight bit away from the floor. And then heel toe your feet out just a bit wider, not a lot wider, maybe one heel, one toe out. And bring your two arms up to the sky. And then drape them over your body, maybe giving yourself a very light hug. And push with the left foot onto the wall and roll your hips and shoulders to the right. Your face follows also. And then come back to the center. And again, roll to the right. So we're not going to alternate sides. You're only going to be rolling to the right this time. And back to the center, to the right, and back to the center. And you may notice that you're kind of pushing with the balls of your feet or your heels a little bit. You're welcome to experiment. So embedded in the experience of somatic education is a value in play, in experimentation. Remember, somatics is about nervous system learning, so we do want to provide lots of different kinds of input. But there is an enemy to this kind of work, and that is what we should do, what it's supposed to look or feel like. Those are not helpful concepts in this work. Not helpful concepts. So the next time you return to the center, you're going to hold. And you're going to bring your feet closer to the center. So they're almost touching. Center's almost touching, and the feet are again flat on the wall. And it's possible that you shifted away from the wall and you might need to get a little closer. And you'll hug your left knee into your chest. Use your hands to pull it in ever so slightly. And then use your hands to organize your left ankle across the front of your right thigh, close to the knee. So if you open your eyes and you look toward the wall, you're looking at an upside down backwards figure 4. And then just with this left ankle, point your toes. point the toes of that left foot. And then pull the toes back. We usually think of this as flexing the foot, right? And then point your toes. So plantar flexion. And then flex your foot. We call that dorsiflexion. So just pointing and flexing. And you may be wondering, do I have my ankle across my thigh? Do I have my foot across my thigh? Is it the calf? And I'm going to say ankle. So that bumpy, knobby thing, the malleolus on the outside of your ankle, hopefully that's against your thigh now. And you have an additional feedback of feeling that move against the thigh as you point and flex. Now, the next time your toes are pointed, I'm going to have you do something a little funky. I'm also going to have you push into the ball of your right foot. So your right heel will come away from the wall. And now all 10 toes are pointed. And then do the opposite. Bring the right heel to the wall, pull the toes away, and flex the left foot. So all 10 toes are flexing back. And now point 2 feet. And now flex 2 ankles. Do this a few more times. And as you're pointing, you might notice that you move into a posterior tilted pelvis. And as you flex your feet, you may find that you are in an anterior tilt. That is, your low back comes away from the floor, but as you point, your low back presses into the floor. Let's do this a few more times. And remember, we don't need the most stretch or the most sensation to be effective here. I'm really just wanting to mobilize the nerves in the lower body. So if you've had any kind of sciatic trouble in your life, you may be familiar with that massive bundle of nerves. And it's a collection of nerves that come from the lumbar spine and converge at kind of the mid-butt, right? Right there at a place we call the piriformis. And you end up with this bundle of myelinated nerves that runs all the way down to the foot. And these nerves need to move. They need to glide and slide in their tissues. So that's what you're doing right now. So the next time you've got your 10 toes pointed, I'd like for you to stay. And you may find that you're in a slight anterior tilt. And then keep the toes pointed, but posterior tilt your pelvis. And keep the toes pointed, but anterior tilt your pelvis. So the toes remain pointed, but you are finding those pelvic tilts to and fro with your breath. And now do the opposite. Press the right heel into the wall. Draw the left toes back. So now the feet are flexed, dorsiflexed. Anterior tilt pelvis, posterior tilt pelvis. And bonus points for allowing your head to nod yes. Right? If the pelvis is moving, the spine is moving, which means the head is moving. So we're keeping that dorsiflexion, toes pulled back, and your anterior and posterior tilting your pelvis. And you can't help yourself. You're nodding yes, yes. Last one, last one. And then rest the foot on the wall. Rest this left foot as well. Push the foot slightly into the wall to lift and shift 2 hips to the left, like 1 inch or less. And then take that whole figure 4 shape and tilt it to the right. You can even roll your chest to the right. So now you're kind of laying on your side with the outside of your right thigh on the floor, the sole of your right foot right where the baseboard meets the floor. Your left ankle is across your right thigh. And as you're looking down towards your legs, you see that this figure 4 shape has simply been tilted, and half of it is resting on the floor. Wedge your right forearm in between the floor and your left knee. So you're keeping this left knee open as you roll your heart open and reach your left arm out for a twisted pigeon. Now, for a lot of us, this position is a little too tight. So all you need to do is just take the sole of that left foot and rest it on your right thigh. Rest it on your thigh. Or if you have a block, you could use that. I said no props though, so even if you have a little pillow nearby. So again, it's not about a deep stretch right now. So I'd like for you to take that modification if you need it so that you can exist here peacefully. This is all about calming that sciatic nerve. So let's incorporate some breath work. Next time you breathe in for 4 counts. Hold for 7. And exhale for 8. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 2 more on your own. And rest the breath. Calm, soft breath. Take a little scan. Notice your energy. And then use your hands to help you pull this left knee back into the chest. Roll back onto your back with your 2 feet resting on the wall. And you may need to adjust. You might be a little too far, a little too close to the wall. Notice the left side of your body. Notice the right side of your body. They probably feel different. Now heel toe your feet out. Just one heel, one toe, maybe another toe. And reach your 2 hands up for the sky, and then take the arms and drape them over your body. Give a little hug. And use your feet to help you roll to the left. Just a little bit. Your head goes with your sternum always, back to the center. And let's roll to the left a few more times. So somatic work, I mentioned in a previous episode, is like a 3D printer for your brain. When we've had movement difficulties for a while, or maybe we've been stuck behind a desk for a couple of decades, or especially when we've had pain, often the parts of our brain which represent movements or areas of the body become almost muted or blurry. Sometimes we say smudged. And so repeating movement like this is like adding the detail back. Come on back to the center. Bring the feet in close so they're almost touching. And then gather your right knee into your chest. Use your hands to help you cross your right ankle across the front of the left thigh, close to the knee. And think about that knobby bone on the outside of the ankle. That should be against the thigh, that malleolus. And all you need to do is point and flex your right foot. Point it and flex it. And if you notice sensations, as many of us will if we've had sciatic stuff going on, observe them. So remember how I said these areas can get smudged. And somatics, we also recognize that movements don't just exist in a vacuum. They exist within the context of yourself, which means that they might also have residue of feelings, beliefs, memories, predictions. And by taking the time to move like this without agenda, without needing to accomplish anything, without needing to do it like it, quote, should be done, we allow that residue to begin to wash off of the movement, so we can come back to something more accurate. Okay, next time your toes are pointed, let's also point the toes of the left foot. So you'll be on your tippy toes on the wall, and then flex. So we're pushing through the heels, toes are pulling back, and then point 2 feet, and then flex. Add the pelvic tilt. So when you point, you'll push your lumbar into the floor. And when you flex, your lumbar will arch away from the floor. Adding those pelvic tilts, bonus points for incorporating your breath. How should you incorporate your breath? Well, my friend, were you trying to do it like it, quote, should be done? I know, I caught you, didn't I? Why not find a pattern that works for you? And then experiment with a different pattern, and then another one. You could even try holding your breath. There's no right, there's no wrong. There's only learning. Next time your 2 toes are pointed, keep them pointed. You should be in, retro version of the pelvis, and then keep the toes pointed, but anterior tilt your pelvis. Keep the toes pointed and push your lumbar down. Keep the toes pointed, anterior tilt. And if you're getting all kinds of sensations, you're doing it right. Now, if you're getting kind of burning or numbness, that's something you might want to come out of. But you can still move just in your imagination, okay? So you know when it's too much. And if it is, you can still do the movement, but in your imagination. Okay, now press through the heels, anterior and posterior tilt. So not only are we updating the nervous system, which governs movement, but we're also providing a little bit of help for the nerves themselves in this practice. So it's kind of like a nerve flossing practice, just from like a nicer, kinder, more holistic perspective. Okay, so we'll release the ankles, relax them. Pelvis is neutral-ish. You'll press your left foot into the wall to lift and shift your hips to the right ever so slightly. And then left foot, right foot, thighs, everything tilt to the left to find the twisted pigeon. Chest opens wide, right arm reaches out. And if your right shoulder won't come to the floor, just rest your right foot on your left thigh. Remember, a deep stretch is not advantageous here. It is not advantageous. We want a manageable sensation, one that can breathe. So the next time you breathe in for 4 counts. Hold for 7 counts at the top. Exhale for 8 counts. Breathe in for 4. Hold for 7. Exhale for 8. 2 more on your own. Well done. Okay, so we'll unwind and bring the right foot back to the wall, and then just walk your feet back to the center. Again, you may need to adjust your position. You might be a little too far away from the wall. We want the thighs pretty much vertical. And now step your, actually before you do that, observe your right side. The chest, the hip, the thigh, the foot, the face. And observe your left side. And try to divide your attention observing both sides at the same time. Now heel toe your feet out just once, one time. And bring your arms out to the sides. And this time, keeping the left shoulder on the mat, windshield wiper both knees to the right. And so you'll be on the blade edge of your right foot. It's against the wall. And on the inner edge of the left foot. But it's not going to stay there for long because I'm actually going to have you send your left heel up. So your left leg is long and centered. And then point your left foot. Curl your toes. You'll find an anterior tilt probably. And then flex your left foot. Pull your toes back. And your hip will change position, won't it? Point the foot. Curl the toes. Flex the foot. Pull the toes back. Point the foot. Curl the toes. And if this cramps your foot, you're in good company. Flex the foot. Pull the toes back. Remember that sciatic nerve has a big reach. It has a huge wingspan. And so we're wanting to sort of floss these nerves all the way from the most distant extremity all the way to the most proximal part of it, right? So the hip. And we're just gliding and sliding these nerves. Nerves don't like to get stuck. One more. And then come back through center, adjust your hips, your position, and your relationship to the wall. Notice your left side, especially your hip, your thigh, your foot. Make sure we got our feet a little bit wider. The arms reach out to the sides and windshield wiper to the right. You're on the blade edge of your left foot. And you're going to send your right leg straight up. So the heel is against the wall, but the leg is straight. Point your toes, curl them. Flex your foot, pull your toes back. So your hip might move toward the floor when your ankle is flexed, and then move away from the floor when your toes point, curling them. If you get a cramp, back off. You're doing too much. Do like 15%. 15%. So if you're watching the video, you may notice that I do not do 15%. I exaggerate, but that's because I'm trying to show you the movement. That doesn't mean your movement needs to be exaggerated. Oof. This is so lovely on my sore right hip. I hope it feels good for yours too. One more. Everything back to the center. Hips, feet are flat against the wall, knees are bent. Notice the right side, especially the hip, the thigh, the lower leg, the foot. And now divide your attention between the right and left lower body. And hug your knees into your chest. Breathe in for 4. Hold for 7. Exhale for 8. Breathe in 4. Hold 7. Exhale 8. One more. And that is your practice, my friend. Well done. Well done putting yourself first. Keep up the good work. I really hope that you enjoyed that short practice. I definitely enjoyed it myself. And I wanted to let you know that if you found some benefit in this somatic practice, that you might really benefit from a week inside of my Somatic Strength Collective app. So in this app, you will find hundreds of somatic practices, yin practices, breath work, mindfulness, mindset work, and you'll also find some guided programs for a variety of chronic pain conditions that'll take you from a place where you're feeling like your nervous system is a little bit unmanageable, all the way through a process that will guide you through somatic movements for your pain condition until you're actually finding that you're doing some strength work at home a few days a week. So if that sounds like something you could benefit from, I'll leave the link in the show notes for you to join the app this week. I hope to see you inside of the app.